This is Kick-Ass News. I'm Ben Mathis.
It was awkward for me when my dad left because at the time I was in 4th grade and my dad was the assistant baseball coach for my 4th grade baseball team. So it was awkward when my dad left, because I get to baseball practice and all the other kids would be like, "Hey, where's your dad? He's supposed to be third base coach." And I'd have to be like, "Oh yeah, he's also supposed to be my dad. Where is that guy?" You know what? When I see him, I'll tell him about this whole third base coach thing. Because God forbid you get to third base and you don't know where to go. You go home. If anything, my dad needs a third base coach.
That was a clip from Whitmer Thomas, The Golden One, which debuts February 22nd on HBO. Comedian Whitmer Thomas's first one-hour special features a provocative and intimate blend of storytelling, comedy, music, and documentary as he reflects on topics that include his Alabama childhood, his current life as an LA comedian, as well as his identity as an aging emo kid, the problems he faces in the dating world, and the legacy of his late mother. And today, Whitmer Thomas joins me on the podcast to talk about making his first comedy special at the same concert venue where his mother and aunt used to perform, how his comedy and music honor his late mother, and how, in a way, he's now fulfilling her dream by pursuing his own. We also discuss some of his most recent skating injuries, what it was like touring with comedian Bo Burnham, and how he went from being an angst-ridden emo kid in high school to parodying emo culture in his act. Plus, we talk Pee Wee Herman, Trump, Blink-182 as the ultimate parody band, and the time a 3-year-old Whitmer got kidnapped. Coming up with Whitmer Thomas in just a moment. Comedian, actor, and filmmaker Whitmer Thomas co-founded the comedy collective Power Violence, served as the co-executive producer, writer, and voice behind the animated series Stone Quackers, and has appeared on The Good Place, Glow, You're the Worst, and the recent film Sword of Trust. He also toured nationally with Bo Burnham and was recently named one of Vulture's Comedians You Should and Will Know in 2019. Now he's out with his first hour-long special called Whitmer Thomas, The Golden One, which debuts February 22nd on HBO. Whitmer Thomas, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed the special, and you taped the special in Alabama, but I guess you live out here right now. You're an Angelino?
I am,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Alabama, though.
Okay. I don't know why I just said that, by the way. That's Angelino. I just cringe every time I hear that term because of all the geographic identifiers, New Yorker, Floridian, Chicagoan. I think that's the one that sounds the most vaguely racist, like a racial slur. It's like those damn Angelinos are taking our jobs or something.
Totally, yeah.
Now, that's a huge change from Alabama. I mean, I'm from Texas, but I've been here a long, long time. But I can relate. Country mouse becomes a city mouse and all that.
Very different. It took me a long time to figure out how to even have fun in LA because of the kind of stuff I was used to as a kid in Alabama. I was like, well, to have fun, you shoot stuff or set yourself on fire. Or you find something to jump off of. Yeah. And then I moved out to LA and I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do out here now?
Yeah, there are not a lot of places to jump off of, don't they? I think most of the building codes here require that buildings not allow access to the rooftops.
I know.
So.
And that was a huge part of my childhood was breaking into condominiums down on the beach and, and messing around, yeah.
Now, do I have this right that you originally came out here to be an actor, not a comedian, right?
I did. Yeah, right when I turned 18, I met a guy my senior year of high school who worked at a special effects company. He was a family friend of one of my friends, and he said he would give me a job working as a PA out here if I ever decided to actually come out here. And so I was like, cool, I'll come. Right when as soon as I turned 18, and so I did, and then he never answered my phone.
Is there much filming in Alabama? I know Georgia and Louisiana have a bunch of tax incentives.
Yeah, there
for that
wasn't.
Kind of thing.
Now there is. Alabama just got that tax incentive, which is how I got to go shoot Sword of Trust down in Alabama.
Okay.
Which was exciting.
Nice,
yeah.
nice. And so you came out here to be an actor. When did you first start to get into comedy?
About a year after moving here, I started to take classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade. I was a huge fan of comedy. I would seek it out all the time and go to comedy shows pretty much every week. I would go to UCB and the Largo on Fairfax, at the old Largo, see Zach Galifianakis and all that whole crew of comedians. And then I started doing improv about a year after moving here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, at some point, I want to say that I read that you, I don't want to say stalked Zach Galifianakis, but you used to like hit him up on his website or something, email him, and say, I want to hang out.
I would email him all the time when I first moved to LA, not realizing that it was just sort of a fan email. It was like a...
so he didn't even operate it.
No, someone else would operate it.
Yeah.
And I would email him these very heartfelt emails that are probably really embarrassing, of joke ideas I had or sketch ideas I had, saying I'm from a small town in Alabama, you're from a small town in North Carolina, and I'm living on the west side of LA, and that's where you live, and I feel like we could become friends if you would just give me a shot.
Well, that's sweet. Did you ever hear from him, or you've probably met him by now?
I have met him now. I got to spend about an hour hanging out with him backstage at the Largo last spring, and he was the nicest person. He just, he was the coolest.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you tell him that you used to email his fan site?
I'll never do that. Never.
Your act also kind of alternates between doing stand-up and also musical parody songs. Were you a big fan of Weird Al, or who were the people that you grew up looking up to?
I love Weird Al. Of course, yeah, Weird Al, big time. The truth is, my favorite funny songs were all by Blink-182. And just kind of all of their earlier songs were kind of funny. They had like this tinge of like extreme sincere desperation. Yeah. And then they would just be so open, like lacking any metaphor. You know what I mean? And because of that honesty, the songs were very funny, and I grew up just listening to them and worshiping them. And I love Weird Al and Flight of the Conchords and whoever else. But Blink-182, I'd say, if anything, I'm not such a good joke writer in the way that those guys are. I'm more of a desperate Blink-182 kind of guy.
Well, what about comedians?
It was all Zach Galifianakis.
Really? All Zach all the time?
My first, the hardest I probably ever laughed, and to this day I claim this is my favorite joke, is an Eddie Murphy joke from Delirious where he talks about getting ice cream when he's a kid, the ice cream man and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's still like the funniest joke ever to me, but the gateway, eventually it was all the alternative comedy kind of the first guys, and Maria Bamford and Tig and Zach Galifianakis. But still to this day, he makes me laugh in a way that I've never been able to kind of find anybody else who makes me laugh that way.
He's so funny. Between Two Ferns and what is it? Baskets. I mean, who even knew he had that heartfelt side to him? Yeah,
I mean, Rory Scovel is the guy who I think is he has that same type of magic that Zach and those guys have. But he's a different generation of comedian. So
you don't have a very pronounced Southern drawl, I have to say. Now, I'm from Texas, and neither do I, but I've been here like 25 years. How did you shake that? Was that on purpose? Or?
Well, I've been out here for 13 years.
Oh, you have? That long?
Yeah.
Well, you're still a pretty young guy, aren't you? Like
I'm
30
31, yeah.
Okay, so you've been out here a while.
I made a conscious effort to try to lose it. If I go home, or if I start talking to somebody who's Southern, or if I even start to yell or get kind of loud, I'll become more Southern sounding.
Why is that? I find that with so many people, that the Southern accent, even people who aren't from the South, they get more Southern the angrier or drunker they get.
I think it's just something inside of you that just kind of comes out. I remember the day I decided to get rid of my accent, or try to. I was 14, and we were filming skateboarding, me and my buddy Clay, who we co-directed my special together, back in Alabama, and I'm yelling at Clay to ollie off of a loading dock that was kind of high. And I go, just do it. Don't be a bitch. And we were watching it back in his house. And I heard myself say that. And I go, I can't talk like that anymore. I can't have my voice sound like, don't be a bitch. So from then on, I was like, all right, don't be a bitch.
Yeah, it's less, with the accent, it's less intimidating.
Yeah.
It's less authoritative, isn't it?
Right. Especially my little squeaky voice. It's like, it doesn't work. Doesn't make sense.
Do you still skate?
Big time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my meditation. That's,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how you decompress. And
For
everything.
sure, yeah.
See, I never skated. I never got on a skateboard. I'm a big wuss. So the very idea of like hurting myself on purpose just never really seemed all that attractive to me.
Well, that's probably for the best. You know, I've
I guess so.
broken pretty much the whole right side of my body.
Shit.
Yeah,
really?
I'm injured right now. Which is,
yeah. What kind of injuries do you have right now?
I got a lower back thing. Something about the lower back. It's bad. And then I've had multiple knees. I just had a knee surgery a couple years ago. Yeah. My wrist has been broken so many times I can't even bend it all the way. I've really messed myself up.
Yeah.
So looking back, it's probably a good thing that you didn't get into it. But that was just part of it. I was like so into the kind of that culture, DIY kind of skate punk culture. So that was my world.
Yeah. Kids get really into that, but I never understood it because like that's the one way of getting around that was never a legitimate mode of transportation. Like at least cars and bikes, they started out as transportation and then became fun and the objects of passion and that kind of thing. Skating was never like a way to get from point A to point B, was it?
Well, especially not in a small town. Maybe in LA.
Yeah, maybe.
Or where the roads are smooth, or New York. But in Alabama, it's like, what do you want me? Especially where I'm from, it's a little island town with shell roads.
Really?
Yeah. There was nothing. There was no way. It was just about tricks, doing tricks and jumping off stuff and getting in trouble at the Civic Center or whatever it is. There's something appealing to me
getting
about with all that.
In the Civic Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I literally have no reference for Alabama either. And if I do, they're probably not good ones.
Right. No.
So there's Jeff Sessions, the Confederacy, and Sweet Home Alabama. Sweet Home Alabama is probably the most positive reference that I have for Alabama.
And even then, they still talk about it's still kind of a problematic song.
Yeah.
No, I always say, like, as a kid growing up in Alabama, they have Alabama history, and it would be like the teacher just going, okay, opening the book and going, well, here we go. Because there's just not a lot of positive stuff. But they were actually purple when it came to the impeachment vote. One of the purple states, like
really, Alabama,
split, yeah, which is good because we have Doug Jones in office down there now, and he's a really cool guy.
Really, Alabama was purple on impeachment.
Yeah.
Wow. They probably won't be purple by election day.
Let's hope they'll at least be purple.
Yeah. Now, by the way, I noticed in sort of the documentary portion of your special, you make a point to show a Trump 2020 hat in the frame with your cousin.
Yeah.
Is that part of Alabama kind of a hardcore Trump country kind of place? What's it like when you go back home?
For me, it's heartbreaking.
Really?
I'm like obviously a liberal and super progressive, and I grew up on an island in Alabama called Pleasure Island, and I grew up and thinking it was like a pretty progressive place, and
really, I
didn't experience see a lot of things that felt backwards to me, or didn't grow up kind of experiencing that too much. But then when Trump got into office, all of those people started to kind of come out of the woods, and there's some pretty awful things going, as far as flags and things like that go down there. And
you still see the stars and bars when you drive around.
More now than ever.
Oh, more?
Yeah, that kind of went away when I was a little kid, younger, really, that was around, and then that went away, and then now it's back more big time, more than ever.
Wow.
And as far as that with my cousin Wilkes, I just thought, he put that there, and he said, like, I want people to know that I don't want you guys to like change, like, I want people to know that I voted for Trump, and I was like, that's fine, Wow. And I think it's pretty interesting that he's such a beautiful kind of emotional person, and he cares so deeply about people being treated fairly. And, I just thought, why not show that side of him, even though our politics are completely the opposite.
Huh. When you go back down there, do people treat you like some kind of a liberal vegan LA stereotype?
Not at all. And
No?
I make fun of them, and they laugh, you know, like, but I do a song in my special called Dumb in Love, which is making fun of people who aren't don't try to educate themselves on the things that are going on now. And the joke is that they're probably a lot happier than I'll ever be, but they laughed harder at that than ever. And
no kidding.
I was singing that song to people who it was about, you know?
Yeah, I think that was my favorite song in the special because you really capture the moment that we're in right now. I feel like that's where we are as a nation. And I wonder, does it feel like the world is getting dumber, or is it just that dumb is getting louder?
I don't know, you know. I think that people are getting just more and more annoying. And I don't think that there should be some sort of middle. I don't think we should reach across the aisle. But I think because of social media, we're just able to kind of, people make a joke. Some people don't understand it's a joke, and then they use that as some psychotic leverage to instill fear into the hearts of 1,000 more people. And the reality is, you know, I go down and talk to people, family members, whoever, people who all it is a conversation, and a lot of the times they don't even actually believe the things that the person that they voted for believes in. They don't, you know, and I'm not saying that they're dumb. It's just people down there, they have they care about different things, you know, like the Star Wars movie just came out, that last one. Yeah. And I was back home and I said, does anybody want to see the new Star Wars movie? And they go, they made another Star Wars movie?
No, really? Alabamans aren't into Star Wars?
Yeah. And they go, why is there another one? Like that's their like a Starbucks opened in my hometown and went out of business. Like,
wow.
People have,
that might be a first.
Yeah. They have a different set of things down there. And it's not because they're stupid at all. They just care about different things. You know?
And somewhere I read you said that I guess when you go back to Alabama and people ask you what you do, you kind of dance around the subject and try to avoid telling them that you're a comedian. Why is that? Are people down there weird about being in entertainment or what?
No, it's because I've been floundering out here for it was for 12 years until this special. So I had nothing to show, you know. So when people would ask me what I did, I'd say, if I said I was a comedian or whatever, they go, "Oh, where can I see your stuff? Or can I see you on the Tonight Show?" Or, you know, I'd be like, "No, yeah, I got nothing to show," you know. And I'm broke, so so I just didn't want to.
So that was more of a me thing than a them thing.
Yeah,
I got it.
It wasn't. No, everybody down there has been so supportive. Yeah, I was on The Walking Dead a couple years ago, and that was like, people down there got really excited.
Oh, that's
about
awesome!
That because that's a show that a lot of people in the South.
I love
like.
that show. What was your role on The Walking Dead?
I play a
Were you living?
Kind of like I was living.
Okay.
I play like a kind of Jeffrey Dahmer-esque guy who kind of takes Ezekiel across, who's a character on the show, across the this field, and kind of with the plan to take him to Negan, and then I get sliced in half.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But it was it was cool.
I remember that now.
I don't look like how I actually look in it at all. They like gave me a crazy hairstyle and all that stuff.
That's such a great show. We're going to take a quick break, and then I'll be back with more when we come back in just a minute. What would you do if you knew there was a place to learn step-by-step strategies designed to help you make the right moves inside the financial markets? A place to develop skills that could help you generate income and build confidence toward your retirement goals. At Online Trading Academy, they know how to teach people the skills and knowledge that could empower you to take control of your financial future so you can spend less time worrying about your life and more time living it. For over 20 years and across 50 locations worldwide, Online Trading Academy has been teaching people just like you skills designed to help you learn to invest with the confidence of the pros. Visit otatrade.com/kick for 2 free tickets to a class in your area and receive their Professional Insiders Kit with lessons from top instructors just for attending. That's otatrade.com/kick. otatrade.com/kick. Wave is a free and easy-to-use financial software that helps freelancers, consultants, and small business owners make, move, and manage their money, bringing them closer to financial success through accounting, invoicing, payments, and payroll. Just like Chris. Chris started his own business 3 years ago and has been using Wave ever since. He was never confident about the financial aspects of running his own business, but since discovering Wave, he was relieved to find a service that made invoicing and payments so straightforward. Wave's free accounting, receipt management, and invoicing tools give your business the professionalism it deserves. Have employees? Wave can pay them directly and automate your payroll tax filings. Payroll helps business owners like Sean. Sean felt like he was dealing with taxes and payroll every day, and making sure everyone got paid took away the enjoyment of running his own business. Having automatic deductions with payroll let him get back to what he enjoys doing most. Just recently, I started using Wave for my accounting and invoicing needs. I was sick of the hassle of invoicing, chasing down clients for payment, juggling numbers. It's a headache. Who needs it? I just wanted to be able to focus on producing my podcast. That's why I really took to Wave's easy-to-use accounting software. It's simple, intuitive, and it saves me time. In fact, now I'm using Wave for my payroll as well. The bottom line is Wave simplified my life. You can't put a price tag on that. But hey, Wave is free, so that's even better. It's time to ditch the Excel spreadsheets, shoeboxes full of receipts, and lost invoices, and start growing your business. Set your business up for financial success by signing up for your free account today at waveapps.com/kick. That's waveapps.com/kick. Now, why did you choose to go back to Alabama to shoot your first special?
It was a long conversation, and then all my jokes are very much, it's obvious that I have this liberal perspective, and I'm a Southerner, and I talk a lot about my family, and sometimes it's kind of really, really personal. And so what I was wanting to do is just perform at some cool warehouse art space, like the Talking Heads' Stop Making Sense live performance, where they have this movable stage, and the stage builds and builds behind them. And then I was talking to Bo Burnham and Chris Storer about that idea. They're the guys who helped me produce my special, and they were like, I don't know, man. Like, how does that helping the material? Like, what this is about you and how your life is paralleling your mom's kind of attempt at her own career in the entertainment industry, and what is that really doing? And then I was like, yeah, well, somehow, I don't know if it was Bo or me or whoever, but somehow we thought, well, it might, I mean, the interesting idea would be for me to perform at the Florida-Bama, because that's where my mom became, one of the regular house bands there. And
yeah, she was a musician, right?
Yeah, and I thought, and I talk about it a lot in my show, and I had for years, and so they were like, well, what would that entail? Would the Florida-Bama be down to let you film a comedy special there? And I was like, they don't do comedy there. It's like bar band music, And
oh, interesting. So you were doing comedy in a non-comedy venue.
Oh, big time. They said one time Ron White was there and he got on stage for a second, but that's the only time that comedy's been there. Wow. So,
but it's a pretty legendary concert venue down there, right?
Big, huge. It's like it's iconic. Like, truly, there could be 1,000 movies with 1,000 different storylines that take place at the Florida-Bama. Really. And but the problem with going down there was then I was like, I don't know if I want to film it down there, because if I did that, then I would have to talk to my dad and my aunt and stuff, and it would be awkward because our relationship is it's kind of difficult, and they were like, well, maybe it'd be cool to talk to them and film it, and that was tricky, kind of wrestling with that. And then I thought it might be okay because I talk so much shit about them and give them an opportunity maybe to humanize themselves in a way that I think might be nice.
Yeah. You spend a lot of time with your dad as well as your aunt and your older brother in this special. So there's definitely a documentary component to all this. It isn't just a straight stand-up special. That's pretty brave for a comedian. I mean, what made you want to expose that side of yourself to audiences? And that side of your family.
Right. Again, just like desperation. But what ended up happening really is once I thought about that, it became, I don't feel comfortable doing it without that, because I don't want to go on stage and talk about how my dad left and all this stuff, and then you never meet him and realize he's a guy who had his own struggles, and or why I haven't talked to my aunt in a long time since my mom died, and then you never see that, you know, she had to watch her identical twin sister die, and how that might mess with you. And or, you know, so I thought that might be nice instead of allowing people to paint the picture of these like villains in their mind. And so that was kind of the only way to do it for me. And the truth is that I still kind of struggle with that every day. Well, I exposed my family in some way, but the hope is that people will watch it and maybe they'll just think again about somebody that they haven't spoken to in a long time. And,
Was it hard to get your aunt and your dad to go on camera and open up about some pretty painful stuff like that?
It was uncomfortable, but the truth is...
But they were down for it.
Yeah, I think, were excited to talk. My dad had always said, since he kind of showed back up into my life, you let me know, and I'd love to just talk to you about everything. And I always felt really uncomfortable about it, and I thought this might be a good opportunity once they said action. No, but he was really ready, you know. And so with me and my aunt and my dad, we talked. That's a full day, and then we had to find like 3 minutes out of, or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, well, maybe it's almost like you needed to have this project to force that moment. Otherwise, you know, it's so awkward, and then it just never happens.
Yeah,
two people never connect, and it never happens.
It's sad to say, like, in a way, I'm like, what a tool, you know. I had to get a stand-up comedy special on HBO to go reconnect with my family, but. I mean, I did.
But sometimes you need that. You need somehow to open that form and make it okay.
Yeah, the truth is the fact that the scariest thing it was terrifying to even start to do the Golden One show, like just as a show, and I think that's where the connection really began, like years before I ever was offered a comedy special. So, yeah.
So when did your dad leave, and when did he come back into your life?
My dad left when I was in 4th grade, towards the beginning of 4th grade, and then he showed back up fully, like completely, at the end of 8th grade.
End of 8th grade. Okay, so still within that time to be around for when you're entering your teens and awkward phase and all that. Okay.
He missed me, like, kind of growing into, you know, he left when I was a child, and he came back and I was like 6'2", and had like a full person, you know, like had my hair was dyed formed. Black, and I was like
he could have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and there was a lot of awkward things. I remember as a kid being like, when he showed back up, like not wanting to raise my arms when I didn't have a shirt on because I didn't want him to see I had hair under my arms, and I felt uncomfortable being like kind of grown up around him, you know.
Are you two in a good place now?
Very good. We've been in a great place for years now, and he's just, you know, he's full of advice, and he's been through it in a way that a lot of people haven't, and he came out on the other end in a really positive way.
Good for him.
Yeah, we're really
That's
close.
Great. And you say in the special that you were actually kidnapped as a child. Is that true? That's a true story. Yeah.
I mean, not successfully, but
an attempted kidnapping.
Yeah.
And your
that's
dad
true.
stopped it, huh?
He stopped it. There's more details to the story that I can tell here, but on stage I don't like to tell them because it's too people can't get by these. But what really happened is I was in the kitchen when I was 3. A man came and started trying to get into the house, and my mom tried to push him out. He pushed my mom down and like grabbed me and then ran out. And in the joke, I say my dad was coming up the road and saw, but the truth was he was in the shed in the back by this like alleyway, and he saw this man like running down with me and just down the alleyway, and my dad chased the guy with an axe that he had in the shed, and then grabbed me, and then the cops came, and then all this other stuff about the bathtub with all my things and that stuff. He had been sort of sneaking into my house and stuff as a kid, and since I was like, an infant. Yeah.
He was just like obsessed with you?
Yeah. He was and he had
wow.
He had a history of that already.
Yeah.
He had already been in trouble for that, and his brother was supposed to be looking out for him. But
wow.
his brother wasn't doing that, and
oh
so
my God.
he went to jail. He died in jail.
Wow. So now that you're famous, when people ask you if you've ever had a stalker, you can say, "Yeah, I did. I was 3 years old or something."
Right.
Now, a lot of the special talks about you dealing with your mom's death and in some ways sort of following in her footsteps into entertainment. First of all, how old were you when she passed away, and what did she die of?
I was 20 when she died. Okay. She was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and my whole life.
Okay. She really doubled down on the whole rock and roll lifestyle.
She did, yeah. It was she dealt with a lot of tragedy in her life. Her first son died in a car accident,
wow.
and then both of her husbands left her, and she was married a couple times after that, and that didn't work out either. And then she was had been through it, and so I guess technically she died of just alcohol, drank herself to death.
Really?
And then some things that she had gotten through drug use as well, kind of, all of those things combined. And then, when I was 20, she died, and that's kind of the chaos that's kind of surrounded watching her die, and the way that my family kind of was acting, all kind of dealing with this kind of their own grief, is what made me kind of run to LA and decide to never really go back and to Alabama and not talk to the people anymore. And then I became really what happened is my mom, when she died, I got $10,000 and from inheritance, and she wrote, like, please, on a letter, don't spend it on rent. So I had to figure out, what to do, and I had wanted so badly to be a comedian, and that is when I rented a theater in L.A. and Hollywood.
Wow,
like a
really?
Little black box theater, one night a week for $400 a month for however long that money lasted, and did a show called Power Violence with my group, Power Violence, and was how I became a stand-up comedian.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So I think that she would approve of what you did with the money. Do you feel like maybe even you're sort of completing your mom's journey as a performer?
I hope so. The completing thing is scary and makes me feel sad sometimes thinking about it, because I just didn't know until I got into my late 20s all of how connected I felt with her, and then I realized, like, she's the entire reason that I do comedy. I wouldn't have had that opportunity if she would have never left me that money. And then oh shit, I'm 27 and I've been in LA for almost 10 years. I'm completely broke and I have absolutely nothing to show, like, in a tangible way. I've had some kind of close calls, but this is not where I thought I would be when I was 27. And I was thinking about my mom's career and life, and this is like about her peak. I still haven't gotten to her peak really in her career, and she called me the golden one right before I died.
Right.
So
yeah, the title is special.
So that's
a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And that's when I wrote one of the songs in the special where I talk about being my mother's son, and I was obsessed with it and became so depressed, and that's what kind of inspired this. But because of that, I've gotten to be like a lot closer with my mom, I feel like, in the last few years of doing this show. And now that it's over and I have this special out, sometimes I get sad thinking I'm going to lose that closeness to her, because it's been really nice to have it, in the last few years.
Yeah.
But the hope is that people watch it and respond to it and they learn about her in some way.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that's a wonderful tribute. We were talking about how your act kind of alternates between stand-up and parody songs. your songs sort of parody emo bands, and let's be honest, there's a lot to work with there. Growing up, were you an emo kid?
Big time.
Really?
Yeah, so I evolved. I maybe evolved or devolved. I don't know. From like a punk kid to full just emo, screamo kid, hardcore. I was in the hardcore scene. I was in cool stuff too, but really emo is what started my journey as like a writer and wanting to write and being so dramatic and just there's something so comedic too about emo music and the lyrics. There's no rules. There's like a famous band called Saves the Day, a famous emo band, and in his songs he goes, I told Dave to drive, and Nick said, don't go that way. And I'm like, who is Dave and Nick? Why is he allowed to just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that without emo music, I don't know if I would exist in Los Angeles. I don't know who the hell. I might be a completely different person now.
But you had an emo band of your own, right?
Yeah, called Say Your Last.
Say Your Last.
Yeah.
I love it. So was there a time when you had a band and you were pretty serious about music, not just doing it ironically? I mean, at what point did you decide to not take yourself so seriously and start clowning on emo culture?
I mean, dude, in high school, my band was so serious.
Yeah.
Say Your Last. We were the most serious. And that was what I wanted to do. We got to put out an EP, and I think we came close to like having this little record deal. And
really,
what ended up happening was that was our whole life, was this band and going on little tours around the Southeast. And my older brother was doing it too. His band was way better and kind of more successful, and we could see like, oh, we're not them. We're never going to be as good as my brother Johnny's band. And at the same time, me and Clay, who is my collaborator to this day still, who I grew up with, we're getting really into movies and Comedians of Comedy, the documentary with Zach Galifianakis and Patton and Brian Posehn and Maria Bamford. That had come out, and we just are things. There was a shift, Dave Chappelle, the Chappelle Show had come out too, and the Block Party stand-up music hybrid thing that he did, and there, Wes Anderson had just sort of like Rushmore and then Life Aquatic and stuff. There was like cool stuff.
Yeah, something in the air.
Yeah,
definitely.
For a teenager to kind of get into, and and at the same time, we couldn't skate anymore. We had both injured ourselves skating, and we were doing this music thing all the time. And a couple members of the band were older than us and in a different part of their life, and so the band was much more serious to them than it was to us.
Yeah,
in a way that made it less fun.
Yeah.
So we decided to stop doing it, and we just quit the band one day. And me and Clay started making little short comedy videos, and Clay got a scholarship off of the videos into Savannah College of Art and Design, and then and I
really
came to LA.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like there's something about a 30-year-old doing emo that is a parody in itself, isn't it? I mean,
well, it's like,
what does a 30-year-old emo kid sing about?
Right, exactly. You gotta. What makes emo interesting is the authenticity.
Yeah.
And what I was so sad as a teenager when I was in my band, but nowadays I still write sincere music. But the shit that makes me so sad is so different. Like I like hate having a broken iPhone screen or whatever it is, and it's
HBO gave my special a terrible slot.
Right. It's just very different, but I think that's what is difficult about emo is you got to remain authentic in order to age. So I kind of would love it if like 50-year-old emo singers just sing about their real problems, which is that they can't afford for their kid to go to college or whatever it is.
I also love that you make fun of the whole spoken word part of emo songs.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's funny thinking about me doing it because spoken, I don't know why, but everybody talks in that kind of goth voice. Like, life is terrible. And why did I there's a photograph that I remember as the ashes fell underneath the rain or whatever it is. But it's funny because like my whole scene was all in the deep South, so we all had these Southern accents, and we were like doing it. But it'd be like, it's fine. the ashes of tomorrow will never come. I cry tears of red.
Yeah. I mean, emo has such an outsider thing about it, but especially in Alabama.
Yeah.
I have to imagine.
It's got a thick presence down there.
Really? No kidding.
People appreciate it down there. That joke. What's funny about that joke is it's very rare that people don't laugh at it. And I think people get what I'm talking about because there's always been a version of emo, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, we mentioned that Bo Burnham is an executive producer on the special, and you also toured with him for a while. He's been on the show before. He's such a cool guy, nicest guy in the world. What's it like to go on the road with him?
That was incredible because that was his big that was Make Happy. So he was just final form, or I mean, I'm sure there's another exciting form that he's going to take soon. But at the time, it felt like, wow, this guy is just peak doing what he's made to do. And the show was just every night I would watch it, and it was just so inspiring to watch him do comedy music in a way that felt almost more like a play than anything. He would be telling a joke, and then it didn't feel like, and now here's the song. You know, which I never really liked when comedy musicians would do that. So it's inspiring to watch. And I remember me and him sitting and saying, like, on the tour bus, being like, "What? Have you ever thought of like making a comedy song, but it's like just a normal song, but then there's comedy in it?" And he was like, "That's not for me." And then I, did that with, I guess, my songs, which were all kind of
bridges that divide.
Yeah, born out of all of my comedy songs were born out of a failed attempt at a sincere album of music. So I took like the music and just wrote kind of a little bit funnier lyrics over it.
Yeah, and by the way, as we wrap up, I have to thank you for standing up for Pee Wee Herman in your special. I kind of feel like he deserves a pass at this point. After everything that's happened over the past few years with Me Too and all.
Right, Pee Wee's okay. He jacked off in a movie theater. That's it.
Yeah.
And it was just him.
Unbelievable.
In a porn theater.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, what do you think goes on in those places? Come on.
Right, there's got to be some more messed
if they
up
exist
stuff.
anymore.
They just were
know.
following him around because he's Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah. Now, I heard that he's actually going on tour and supposedly is trying to do a reboot of Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my friend was just at one of those shows, and it was really good, he said.
Yeah. I think he sold out LA Live when he did it maybe a year or two ago.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah. So good for Pee Wee.
Good for him.
Something to look forward to. Another thing to look forward to, I should mention that you have an album coming out with these songs. When does that drop?
It drops on Friday.
Oh, okay, same time.
The hope is people will watch the special and then they'll go,
perfect.
Maybe I can find those songs somewhere.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, look for Whitmer Thomas, The Golden One, debuting February 22nd on HBO, and go look for that album. Whitmer Thomas, hey, thanks for talking with me.
Thank you, man.
Thanks again to Whitmer Thomas for coming on the show. One more time, check out his hour-long special, Whitmer Thomas, The Golden One, on HBO, February 22nd. If you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and rate and review us while you're there. 5-star ratings and detailed reviews are one of the best ways for new listeners to discover the show. You can also follow us on Facebook or on Twitter at @KickassNewsPod and recommend us to your friends on your social media. For more fun stuff, visit kickassnews.com, and I welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions at comments@kickassnews.com. For now, I'm Ben Mathis, and thanks for listening to Kick-Ass News.